Displaying photos in our home can often be a challenge. Many times people feel awkward about putting photos of themselves on their walls in fears of coming across as vain or self-centered. And other times we just don't know where the best spot to put them is. My name is Topanga. I am a portrait photographer and an interior design lover, and today I am going to give you some of my tips and tricks for displaying your lovely photos in your home. I'd like to include a disclaimer that I am going to say some things that might hurt some people's feelings, and if you display your photos in a way that I'm personally not a fan of, that is okay. You do you, I will do me, and we will be happy about it. We're going to start by getting the frames off of the ground, off of whatever table they are perched upon. Wall space is prime real estate for photos, and we're going to make use of that. No more packed tables full of family photos that is just a pain to dust. You know it's a pain to dust. No more covering an entry table in 20 family photos. No more cluttered mantles. No more sardine side tables. We're going to take those frames and we're going to nail them to the wall or use command strips, because it's going to not only look better, but it's going to be a heck of a lot easier to clean. You can go about this in a few different ways. If you have a lot of little photos that are clumped together, this is an excellent way to incorporate into a gallery wall. Gallery walls are perfect for art in general, and photos of your family, whether they be candid or from a portrait session, will be the perfect addition to a gallery wall. You can do a gallery wall of just your family photos, or if you feel a little weird about doing that, you can easily mix it up and incorporate other pieces of art. You can include paintings or illustrations that not only go with the style of your photo, but maybe add on to the story. Maybe you took some lovely vacation photos out on a camping trip. A great way to add to that story is to include maybe some landscape paintings that are similar to the area you went camping in, or you can even add some structural pieces, like there's these cute little hanging plants that you can add, and it'll just add to the story and the experience of your camping trip and create this beautiful gallery wall. A great place for gallery walls are in staircases or above your sofa in a living room. You really want to create a focal point with your gallery wall, and usually staircases have big walls, and above sofa walls, we're not really doing much with those anyways. Those are just some great opportunities to turn into something a little more interesting. A key note that I want you to keep in mind when designing your gallery wall is to keep an eye on your negative space. Negative space can quickly disappear when designing a gallery wall, and it's very important that we maintain a balance between the negative space and the space that we are filling with our portraits and art pieces. When you place your frames a little too close to each other, it can quickly start to feel very cramped and claustrophobic. And even though we're filling a wall or a spot, we still want to create a breathable atmosphere and a sense of fluidity through the room. You never want to walk into a room and automatically feel a bit closed up and cramped, even if the room that you're in is quite large, like a living room. If you're not interested in doing a gallery wall, I understand they take a long time to curate and gather not only frames, but the art pieces that you want to include in it. Maybe you want to start out a little simple. Great spots for larger works of art to get them off the ground would be above the fireplace, which is just so classy and elevated and empowering. I know it can feel a little intimidating, and we might feel a little vain about putting ourselves in such a focal spot. Think about all of the great castles that we see in movies where they walk in and there's this grand portrait of some royal who once owned the palace, and I don't see why we can't have that in our own homes. And it doesn't just have to be a photo of you. It could be a photo of your family. It could be a wedding portrait. Anything that you just absolutely love. I think above the fireplace is a wonderful spot for that. And also, this would be a great opportunity to change it out for the seasons if you wanted, for say Christmas, you could put your Christmas portrait up above your fireplace. And I just think that would be so cute and so lovely. And if you don't have a fireplace, another great spot would be over an entry table, or you can put it over your sofa. Anywhere that has a big spot that needs to fill, just put a single big portrait. Beautiful. We've talked about one option for our smaller prints, but maybe we don't want to do a gallery wall and we're not quite sure where else to put them besides on little tables. I think our problem with small prints is because they're so small, we're scared of putting them in places where they might be a little harder to see. I'm here to tell you, you don't have to worry. In fact, smaller prints can act as lovely little surprise details, and I'll explain how. So for this example, I'm going to use our kitchen, which is a very difficult place to incorporate art in the first place unless you have like a dining nook, but I'm talking about the kitchen itself. Most of the wall space real estate is already taken up by cabinets and range ventilation hoods. There's not a lot of other wall space where we can add personal details, but I want you to think about that little side of the cabinet that isn't blocked by a wall. That is the perfect spot to put 2 little frames, and it is the cutest little moment. And I use the kitchen as an example, but this could go for any little slivers of wall that we have. You could have a window on a shorter wall and then a sliver of drywall to complete the wall. And that's a lovely little place to put these 2 little frames. I like to do 2 for these, but you could easily do 3. 3 is a magical design number. I just personally like the little couple. Smaller photos are also great for being paired with a single large one. This is different from a gallery wall. Think of your groups of 3. So you'll have 1 large photo or art piece, and then your 2 smaller photos. And this again is our magical 3 number in design, and by pairing something larger with 2 smaller pieces, it again is playing with that negative space and creates a really nice tension that adds an interest. We've talked about getting our photos off of the ground, but what if that's not an option? What if we're limited on wall space, or we're living in a rental and we're not allowed to put holes in our walls, and so hanging those bigger pieces sounds nice, but isn't really feasible? A great solution is to use your photos to style your shelves. One option that you can do is you can add picture ledges, which are great ways of being able to display bigger pictures without putting as many holes in your wall. You may have to put a few in just to hang up the photo ledge, but now you've given yourself more real estate to play with. And so now we can play with styling larger photos with smaller photos, and this is also a great way to be able to rotate which photos you have out on display depending on the season or just how you're feeling. And this is a great way to play with height in design. And for those of you that maybe have bookshelves or built-ins in your homes, this is a great spot to add some of your photos there as well. I have seen some people take everything off of their shelves and only put photos on, and I think this comes out of a fear of we don't want to hide any of the photo, and so we just put the photos up. But I personally think this looks a little flat, and I love to take the opportunity of using photos as layering pieces. You could incorporate larger photos in the back of your shelf and then put little maybe stacked books or knickknacks in front of it, and you're still able to see the photo, but now you've created a little vignette on your shelf. And it creates a depth in design. I just personally think it looks a lot better than just having a bookshelf full of photos. And bookshelves are super handy for actually storing knickknacks and books, and I don't want to take that away from you for the sake of trying to display photos in your home. Please don't do that. Make use of the storage that you've got. And when you're layering in front of your larger photos, this is also a great spot to incorporate those smaller photos as little layering pieces. Ways that you can incorporate your smaller photos are layered in front of your larger photos, or you could even stack it up on a stack of books. Get creative with it. We've reached the part of the video where I'm going to give you my last little tips and tricks on how you can further elevate your photos. And I'm going to start with one that maybe you might disagree with, but I really don't like it when I walk into a room and there's a gallery wall, but all of the photos have these ginormous white mats. And my issue with this is, sure, it looks really crisp, but when you walk into that room, you don't see 9 family photos. You see 9 big white squares. And that is not the feeling that we want. We want people to walk in and say, wow, look at this lovely gallery wall of these lovely photos. Not, what am I looking at? Let me get a little closer. My other ask of you is no more plain black frames. I understand the plain black frames are easy to find, they're cheap, they come in a lot of different sizes, but guys, they look a little flat, they look a little boring, especially when you've got a bunch of them all together. Just by changing a black frame to a wood one, it doesn't even have to be super ornate, although I personally love an ornate gold frame. Just a simple wood frame of any tone that suits your personal design style is already gonna top that plain black frame. And if you do like a more contemporary style and that's why you lean towards that black frame, I promise you there is a frame out there for you that is not black. There are tons of wooden frames that come in all sorts of different stains and profile cuts. It doesn't have to be super intricate, but just a little bevel will create a different shadow and will make your whole photo not look so flat in its frame. Another tip for you is when we're hanging our photos, don't be afraid to not hang them in a straight line. It's really nice and clean whenever we put our gallery wall in straight lines, but by staggering them just a little bit, it creates a rhythm, which is a design term, and makes our eyeballs very happy. And please display your candids and heirlooms. These are such great conversation starters and deserve to be loved. There's a reason why we keep family heirloom photos. It's so that way they can be displayed and talked about. And as far as candids go, let's face it, no one's like, hey honey, you know what would be a really great fun activity to do tonight? Let's sit on our couch and look through my camera roll. No one's gonna do that. Even though they're on your phone and you can't have them printed super big, you can still get your favorite ones printed small, and this is great to include in a photo album, or if you're missing those little small photos to hang about your house, consider using some of those. Those are all the tips and tricks that I have for you today. If you stuck around to the end of the video, thank you so much. I hope that this video could give you some ideas on how you can display your photos in your own home. And if you would like to see more, consider subscribing, leave a like, all that good YouTube jazz, and I will see you next time. Bye!